I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
We were thinking about doing a Christmas special, but changed our minds at the last moment, and instead we're doing a big transfer special. We don't expect to see many more transfers this year, so we're ready to dive deep into the cycling transfer silly season with some of the most interesting transfers of the last decade. I'm joined at the Domestique HQ by Yves and Hannes. Welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi, Bram.
Yves, I'm kind of surprised to see you here instead of training. You registered yourself for a pretty crazy challenge next week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, next week? Well, it's a very crazy challenge, actually. I'm going to ride a cyclocross in Geoghegan on the parkour where the pros will ride 15-20 minutes after I screwed up the whole surface. So yeah, it's organized by Average Rob. He asked on X if there would be participants, but that went quite fast, and right now I'm scared. I'm very scared, and I'm gonna eat a lot of sand. I saw the sand pit is 58 meters, so that's 58 meters of eating sand.
I still have some doubts about that, actually. You never wanted to participate in my Cross is Boss podcast, and yet you're racing cyclocross.
I want to participate in the Cross is Boss podcast, and you know that. But you didn't dedicate an episode to my lifetime hero.
Only if
Mathieu
the
van der
flying
Poel.
mullet is there, so...
The flying mullet showed what he's capable of. This is not Cross is Boss right now, so we know who's the GOAT, who's the best rider. So
Hannes thinks it's start of the week, it's time for Cross's Boss, but no, we're doing the Domestique Racing podcast. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you fall on your face in Geoghegan.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
You will be there. You
Yes.
will provide some content.
I will, for our audience. Well, let's dive into the actual topic of the podcast instead. Maybe let's start off with the biggest one, in my opinion, of the last decade, maybe. It's Primoz Roglic from Jumbo-Visma to Bora-hansgrohe. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely not the biggest move of the decade, but it seems like a long time ago already, the announcement of Roglic's transfer to Bora-hansgrohe. I think it was start of off-season. And I think it's rather a move for short-term instead of long-term, which... I have some doubts about it, actually. His biggest goal is winning Tour de France. And I think if he doesn't do that in the first 2 years, then, yeah, it failed.
Like he ended the spell with Jumbo-Visma with an extraordinary end of the season with the Italian Classics. He was very strong. His transfer was already announced back then. He finished the 2023 season with 15 wins. So that's quite a big amount within the overall Jumbo wins that season. But yep, I have to agree it's maybe 2-3 years max that they will benefit from a strong Roglic. But I don't know, in a new team, new approach, he's the sole leader within the team for the Tour de France, no doubt. So he can play an important factor in the upcoming Tour de France 2024 and in other one-day races, of course.
That's for sure. But do you really think he can beat Prime Vingegaard, Prime Tadej Pogacar?
You have to ask who can beat a Prime Vingegaard, first of all. And then you have a Pogacar. Who can beat Pogacar except Vingegaard? In a Grand Tour. Now Dieter Loos is sitting here on my shoulder saying, Juan Ayuso. But yeah, if you think about who can beat a Prime Jonas and Tadej, no one. But then it's going to be quite a boring Tour de France with 2 participants. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that actually Roglic only has 1 year. He's 34 this year, 35 next in 2026. Or 2025, he's going to be 36 years old.
Chris Froome still believes he can win the Grand Tour.
You can believe all you want, it's not happening. So I think he just has this year to go for it, and that's it.
I'm very curious to know what his new teammates think about that move, because the team also has Vlasov, Jai Hindley, Kemna Boegman, Certainly Hindley with Dani Martinez. I think we'll come back later to that. He also joins the team, but yeah, that decreases his chances.
Yeah, I definitely think that some of the other transfers that we're going to be talking about were not aware of Roglic joining the team when they signed up, especially someone like Martinez. But there was someone who joined up, who was at Bora-hansgrohe, but left after the Roglic transfer was announced. So maybe let's go to him. It's a bit of a controversial one because, well, we don't know exactly if this transfer is actually going to happen. Of course, it's been announced, but the UCI hasn't ruled it legal yet at this time where we're recording this. Cian Uijtdebroeks from Bora-hansgrohe to Jumbo-Visma, so basically the reverse of Roglic.
That's a stellar move. I don't know what happened there behind doors, but Visma Leasebike did an incredible job signing that guy. He's one of the biggest talents in the cycling world right now. He's a rough diamond, if he's even rough anymore after his performance in the Vuelta in a couple of months ago. And he will win a Grand Tour within the next 2 to 3 years, if it will take that long. So it's phenomenal. Is it good for the sport? I saw a lot of different opinions on X, certainly in the first day or two, when it was just confirmed that he would go, or confirmed that he would go to Visma, that it's once again going to the Dutch squad, and it strengthens him even more. But for Cian, it was the best move that he could make if he has to leave Bora.
Yeah, well, Cian was complaining about the material he got to use at Bora. Besides that, you also have the bullying rumors of Cian being bullied during La Vuelta within a WhatsApp group he wasn't part of, where everyone probably, we don't know what happened, but rumors say they made fun of him. Now, Roglic goes to Bora, Uijtdebroeks is gone. I don't know. I think if I were manager at Bora, I always want Cian Uijtdebroeks in my team instead of Primoz Roglic.
Definitely. I think Primoz is going to be good for 1 or 2 more years, maybe 3 if he is able to stretch that out. But Cian, 20 years old, or however much it is, like he's going to last for another decade in the pro peloton and probably win a Grand Tour. It's a crazy trade.
I saw you watch when I said he's gonna win a Grand Tour within the next 2 or 3 years. Do you think it's gonna be earlier than that?
No, definitely not. Within 2 years, that means there are 6 Grand Tours, and he'll be winning one of them. I don't know if that's too soon. Will depend on the freedom he gets at Jumbo-Visma, the growth he has there. But the guy said he wants to get his time trial better. Yeah, if there's one environment, one team you need to be to do that, I think it's Jumbo-Visma. And apparently Uijtdebroeks also said his big idol is Wout van Aert.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it must be special.
Kind of surprising
to race next to your big idol.
I want to dive into the fact that you say there are only 6 Grand Tours within now and 2 years, but they lost Roglic, and besides Jonas Vingegaard, they don't really have a absolute top leader for GC. They have, I don't know what they're gonna do with Matteo Jorgensen. What with the dream of Wout van Aert and a possible GC.
GC Kuss?
There is also Sepp Kuss. He won La Vuelta, so he'll definitely say, I want to try again. It would be weird if he doesn't say so, I think.
I think in the press in the past couple of months, he's already kind of shown his mindset change.
Being domestique at Tour de France and then getting his own chance at La Vuelta once again. So that's already 3 of them gone, unless Uijtdebroeks goes to the Giro. But then mighty Tadej Pogačar is there.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I put him in the GC men, but technically maybe he might also be a domestique move. Mikel Landa. from Bahrain Victorious.
I thought you were talking about Uijtdebroeks.
No. Landa, his move has been announced as becoming a domestique, but it's Landa. You never really know.
Rightfully so.
He's not
I know
he's not gonna.
The big
domestic-
Landismo fan is next to me, so I have to
not
watch
go-
out what I say.
He's not gonna domestique 100%. Never.
Not saying 100%, but his priority role will be domestique for Remco Evenepoel at Tour de France in 2024. I'm pretty sure about that. But yeah, there's so many races in one season. He'll definitely get his chance in 1 week race. You never know. But you think he'll be a leader of a Grand Tour as well?
Well, I don't know. There is, like we mentioned, there are 3 Grand Tours in a season. They have Remco Evenepoel, who can ride 1 or 2, depending on his schedule. But besides that, who's going to be a GC leader within that team? Ilan van Wilder, maybe, but that can be together with Landa, both protected riders. So he might go to the Giro. The Giro Tour double.
You can also see Landa as a stage hunter. Might even be more exciting than seeing Landa as a Grand Tour leader taking 5th place once again.
Yeah, but I don't think that's why they brought him to the team to hunt for stages.
No, but I'm not waiting to see Landa once again in a second chasing group in mountain stages.
Watch him beat Pogacar in Giro.
You gotta be realistic. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Okay, second behind Pogacar.
Okay,
It's a
our
good-
British
it's a good
audience
move.
being
It's
like,
definitely a good move
who is
for-
Corin Thomas to you?
It's a good move.
The only question I have, Remco Evenepoel and especially his dad, he wanted the mountain train to get better. Is it getting much better with Mikel Landa? And is it getting better for 2 or 3 years if necessary?
I mean, to be fair, I kind of think that criticism was wrong to begin with. The mountain train is there and it does work. If Van Wilder is there, like Van Wilder himself could potentially go for a top 10 in GCs in Grand Tours. We saw that at the Giro. He basically finished 11th, I think, after 10 days of domestique work. So it does get better with Landa.
But still, have you seen the Tour de France squad UAE Team Emirates is bringing to Tour de France in 2024?
Yeah, they're not bringing domestiques.
Pogacar, Almeida, Ayuso, Adam Yates.
I don't think
Pollitt.
Adam Yates.
Yeah, Adam
Pollitt,
Yates was on the
Wellens.
provisional list as
Oh my
well.
God.
Sivakov.
If you put a train of Soudal Quick-Step next to that and next to the one of Jumbo-Visma,
But
you still have a problem.
You have to ask yourself, Soudal Quick-Step isn't the team that has to carry the race, that has to do all the work. It's going to be UAE and Jumbo-Visma. And if you have 2 or 3 good mountain domestiques with you in the high mountains, I think that's enough. They are not going to pace in the peloton like Jumbo or like Visma, will do or UAE will do. So I don't think you need an entire squad. And that selection from UAE talk about, that's a recipe for disaster.
Or for a miracle.
I
Imagine-
think it's drama waiting to happen.
Imagine we're at the start of a big raid during a mountain stage. Do you think Mikel Landa will be there the whole stage for Remco Evenepoel?
But you have Louis Vervaeke, Van Wilder as well. Those guys proved themselves in the previous Grand Tours that they are capable of guiding their leader to a Grand Tour win or to a podium spot or whatever. Is it as strong as UAE and Visma Lease Bike? No, not at all. But I think their team is maybe more balanced than the team that UAE will bring to the Tour de France, for example.
Might be, yes.
Like you have to, the team UAE brings is more a high mountain team with a lot of pure climbers, but then you have the mid mountain stages and the hilly stages. All those guys within the UAE team are good in that as well. But I don't know. I think it's quite a good team, and if Alaphilippe comes back on a decent level, he can go for his own chances in some stages and can be a very important domestique for Remco as well.
So Mikel Landa to Soudal Quick-Step, good move.
That's a good move.
All right. can wrap that up then. Next one on the list, Martinez from Ineos to Bora-hansgrohe as well. We already kind of touched on him, that it is an odd transfer now that Primoz Roglic's move was also announced.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Dani Martinez. His performances are as unstable as the Belgian weather. Could be good. Depends on how you see the move. Do you see it as a Grand Tour leader? Do you see it once again as a stage hunter? I love stage hunters. And Prime Dani Martinez is a damn good one.
I think he wants a leadership in 1 week races. And if you go to the same team as Primoz is basically the king of 1 week races. Even in the next years, he's going to want to do those 1 week races and win them. So if you go there with Martinez and Roglic, Martinez is not gonna get those.
But you also have Vlasov, who isn't bad in 1 week races. You also have Kemna. That's the problem I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So Martinez was signed his contract before Roglic was announced?
I believe so.
I don't know.
I have no clue, but they brought in Roger Adria as well as a mountain domestique. And then indeed, like Hannes mentions, you have Hindley, Vlasov, Kemna. Schachman maybe if he gets back on a very decent level. That's a 1 week stage guy, kind of guy. He can do that as well. So I don't know what's gonna be how his contract looked like, to be honest. But I assume he signed as a leader. I don't know if it's gonna be a Grand Tour leader or 1 week stage race leader, but I don't think he will sign a contract as domestique or as 60-40 or 70-30. I don't think that will be the case.
Maybe we should look at it the other way around. Do you think this is a big loss for Ineos?
No. Ineos has leaders. They're not mature enough at some point. Martinez was kind of a leader in Ineos time where they had their great leaders in the past, and they have young talents which are going to be probably great leaders in 2 to 3 to 4 years. And Martinez was sort of the weak link between the two, because it never really worked out.
I don't consider it as a loss either.
I kind of disagree. I think Ineos had the problem that they couldn't solve the problem of inconsistency. With Martinez, he was very good in 2 or 3 stages and then faded away the next 2 stages. And they didn't seem to cope very well with it. They didn't know what the issue is, because the guy can handle a huge amount of training load. He has the talent. He's very strong. So, is it a loss for Ineos? If they could have solved the inconsistency problem, it's a loss. And if Bora gets that sorted out, then Martinez will perform strong. Yeah, will have strong performances next year.
I think they definitely tried to solve those issues, but they simply couldn't. I think it's just part of who the rider is. But time will tell.
Time will tell.
Next one is also a very similar transfer, but in my opinion, it is a big loss for Ineos. Geoghegan Hart going from Ineos to Lidl-Trek. In my opinion, this is an amazing transfer for Lidl-Trek. It basically puts them in contention for podium at the Tour de France. I really rate Hart high. He was, in my opinion, better than Geraint Thomas at the Giro. And in all the races leading up to it, like the Tour of the Alps, he was just in amazing form. I really want to see him ride against Jonas and Pog.
Well, Bram, you said about Primoz Roglic to Bora-hansgrohe, it's one of the moves of the decade. Yeah. But for me on paper, this one is as good. Problem is, it all depends on how he recovers from his bad injury, because it was really bad. He broke his hip.
Complex.
And recently he said, I feel as a cyclist again. So, yeah, the guy couldn't walk. Was, I think, a little bit similar to what happened to Remco Evenepoel. The guy couldn't walk either. Had to come back from a long way. But I think if all yeah, if we look at Evenepoel now and Geoghegan goes the same way, yeah, future looks pretty good for a Lidl-Trek.
Yeah, very good transfer. The form he had in the Giro and the build-up to the Giro was his best ever form. Yes, he won the Giro in 2020 in the COVID edition, or was it the year before COVID, in the COVID edition. But yeah, I see he's scheduled to race Algarve at the start on the 14th of February. So he's race fit. He's ready to go. And if he gets that race ridden back, then he will be a very strong signing. He's one of those strong signings that Lidl-Trek made. But this is, for me as well, the move of this year's transfer window.
You guys had Laurens de Plus on this podcast recently. Don't forget what he said before he crashed in Giro d'Italia. De Plus said, yeah, Geoghegan, he didn't go into the red.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how true that is, because there was that stage where Roglic attacked, dropped Remco, and Geraint Thomas and Hart sort of bridged over. He must have gone into the red there. Otherwise, he would have taken the opportunity to drop Roglic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, indeed. But still, I think he had a very good first 10 stages in the Giro, and he was ready to strike together with Thomas. It was a perfect scenario for Ineos, but then the unfortunate crash in that descent took him out, and his season was over. I just saw his last race day was the 17th of May, so that's a long time.
Yeah, basically the entire time just recovering, learning how to walk again, learning how to ride a bike again. It's going to be really good seeing him back on the bike.
It still shows Lidl-Trek has a lot of confidence in him. They signed a guy who was injured badly, and they still believe in him.
Taking a risk.
They announced him as their big man for GC Grand Tours. So they have a lot of confidence in them, and I hope he can fulfill that.
Definitely. All right, I'm going to switch the order a little bit, because I've noticed we have Sivakov on our list as well. And since we're talking about riders leaving Ineos anyway, we might as well bring him in as well. And there's another one later on. Sivakov to UAE. In my opinion, at the end of the season, Sivakov was going so strong in one-day races. He suddenly turned out to be amazing at one-day races, especially the ones in Canada. I'm very curious how he's going to go. But then again, he goes to a team where, you have a Pogacar running around, you have a Adam Yates who's also really good at those Canadian races. Where do you see that going?
Well, first of all, Sivakov was a very good rider in the youth categories. We shouldn't forget that. But we also talked a couple of times about him, I remember. And I've got the feeling we've never seen the best Sivakov in the elite category yet. I've got the feeling Ineos didn't really use him the way they should have used him. Of course, he had a lot of troubles. He crashes a lot. The guy was young, crashed in Grand Tours. Then he kind of lost his place in the ranking at Ineos Grenadiers. And I've got a feeling he never came back from that. But as a domestique, I think that's a big win for UAE Team Emirates.
We have to note it's his first team that's not Team Sky or Ineos within the pro ranks. So since he was young, he joined. He was in the BMC development team, but then he joined Team Sky. So since 2018, he was in the British squad, and now it's the first time in a different environment, in a different professional environment. So we might see a little change in his performances, but he will be brought into the team as domestique, both in Grand Tours and one-day races or stage races. Like you talked about the Canadian classics, but the Italian classics in the autumn, first, second, third, and then of course Il Lombardia was a little bit disappointing. And expected quite a bit from him, because his build-up towards Il Lombardia was quite good. But then we talked with Josh a little bit about it, and he was quite harsh about Pavel Sivakov.
Harsh and wrong.
That he couldn't handle volume in the races. So if it goes over 200 kilometers, that Sivakov is struggling. So I don't know if UAE sees that in the performance tests they did the last couple of weeks. But if they can work on that, he can be a very important domestique in Liège, in Lombardia, and in the tough stages in Grand Tours.
All right, so you do see him taking on the domestique role
The problem is
in that team.
Sivakov didn't prove anything as a Grand Tour leader yet because of all the problems, and then you can't go to UAE Team Emirates, one of the best teams there is, and immediately shout, yeah, I want to be a leader here. The guys have Pogacar, they have Ayuso, Almeida. Yeah,
he signed for 3 years, so UAE believes in him. He's only 26 years old, so he's still quite young. He started very young as pro. So, yeah, interesting to see actually. I know all those UAE transfers. There's like a lot of big names, but names that, you don't know. Will they get a role as leader? Will they be played out as domestique? Because that UAE squad is so damn strong.
I'm pretty convinced we'll be surprised by Sivakov.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter
agree.
if it is as a domestique or as a leader, but he'll get better.
Yeah.
All right. Another rider leaving Ineos. I'm going to talk about Ben Tulett. According to Dietrich, it's Jonas Vingegaard V2. I don't really have that same belief yet in Ben Tulett, but it is a very interesting transfer. He is 22 years old, and Dietrich believes in him as basically a future Grand Tour winner. What are your thoughts on his transfer?
I have to agree with Dieter. That's his big goal of Tulett, growing as a Grand Tour rider. Don't forget Giro 2022. He got, I think, top 40. But in the individual time trial, he got 5th, where Simon Yates won. I think it was a slightly uphill finish of that time trial. I think a lot of people seem to forget that. And in that Giro, he also worked for Carapaz, was the leader back then. Won Tour of Norway this year, again after a good time trial, good prologue. So we know these days, if you want to win a Grand Tour, your time trial needs to be on point. So that's an advantage already. But at this point, I don't see anything why I shouldn't believe, Dieter, that Tulett can be a good Grand Tour rider.
It's difficult for me because Tulett is 22 years old. Dieter hypes up a lot of young talented guys because he watches purely to data and how they perform, looking at power, etc., and how they fade during their effort. But yeah, he never rode for a general classification in Grand Tour before. He's only 22. He's within the Visma Lease bike squad, so that's the best team to learn it. But I think we just have to give him time, and to now say he might be the future Grand Tour winner might be a little bit early. Yes, he won Tour of Norway, but in second was Magnus Sheffield and third was Thibaut Nys. So that's not the biggest competition. He did win it, don't understand me wrong, but I just want to see him grow little by little within the Visma. Within that Visma Lease bike squad before I mention him as a future Grand Tour winner candidate.
Yeah, personally, I don't really understand how Ineos lets a super talented British rider go. Like, that's supposed to be their thing. Winning Grand Tours with British riders. That's how they got started with Team Sky. And
I think in the list you made before as preparation, there were a lot of outgoing Ineos transfers, but none incoming. There is one incoming, right? One? So that says a lot about the transfer window that Ineos had.
Definitely.
About Tulett, what surprised me, I looked into it this afternoon. The guy was 14th at the World Championships in 2022, which Evenepoel won. He was in the first group there. So about Sivakov, you said the guy doesn't have the volume, but at the age of 21, that's a strong performance.
That's a very strong performance, certainly in a tough race. But yeah, give him some time to grow into the Grand Tour aspect. He only participated in one. He domestiqued in there. He barely was even a leader in 1 week stage races. So,
but Jumbo promises him that he'll get his chance. He'll get the time to grow.
Yeah, but that was also before Cian was announced, so he might have some problems in there. They are both very young. They are the same age, or they are 1 or 2 year difference. So they will meet each other almost their whole career. So, yeah, don't understand me wrong. He's a very talented guy. He is someone for the future, but immediately call him out as a possible Grand Tour winner is too early for me at this point.
I got your back, Dieter.
All right, maybe let's actually talk about that incoming transfer for Ineos.
Not a lot to say about that, to be honest. But yeah, announce him.
Tobias Foss, basically doing the reverse from Tulett, going from Jumbo-Visma to Ineos. I don't understand this trend. Like, what is he? He must be a pure domestique.
I sincerely hope they lowered that wage request, because they asked so much. I don't know the exact number, but just because he was world champion individual time trial, that management, or is it his father even from Foss, I don't know, puts such a high price tag on the guy. But besides that lucky time trial win, what did he perform?
Yeah, I mean, he's a individual time trial world champion that didn't win a single race in his rainbow jersey. That's says a lot.
Yeah, he won 4. He had 4 wins in his career. It's the National Norway Individual Time Trial, the National Norway Road Race, then another time National Champion, and then World Champion in the time trial.
What a champion.
He's a true champion. He knows where to pick, when to pick his perfect form. But yeah, I don't have to add a lot to him. I have no clue how they will play him out. Will he be? Will they try him as a Grand Tour guy? Will they use him just like, a time trial guy? A domestique. But then you have to ask for who he's gonna domestique, because, Thomas. But no.
A lot of questions.
I'll leave that for Ghana, maybe. That would be quite a powerful...
For Egan Bernal in the Vuelta, he can domestique.
Yeah, but they already have so many... Well, now they have a lot fewer Grand Tour guys, maybe. But in the Tour, they're definitely going for Pidcock.
Yeah.
I just don't understand this transfer at all. I don't see it working out for Ineos or Foss.
How much incoming transfers did they have this transfer window?
2 or 3?
Oscar Rodriguez as well, and AJ August as well.
So
AJ August is a very promising young guy.
That makes it 3. One good one, a bad one.
What are you gonna say about Oscar Rodriguez?
And I don't know one.
But was it? Yeah, I know it's not on this list, but AJ August was mentioned as the American Remco Evenepoel with more power.
Yeah, but
or something.
That's like every transfer in football. It's the Belgian Messi we've got here.
No, it wasn't a transfer announcement.
It's the Dutch Ronaldo.
I think it was Axel Merckx, because he was...
It was like a GCN interview.
But those comparisons, we need to stop with that.
Yeah, maybe AJ August is going to beat Tulett in a Grand Tour, and then we're going to rewatch this, and then you're going to say, God damn, I should have followed Yves instead of Dieter.
Well, unlikely, but we'll see. Then I have one more guy listed as a GC guy, but he can be a GC guy, he can be a classics guy, he can be whatever the hell he wants to be. Matteo Jorgensen from Movistar to Jumbo-Visma as well.
He can be what he wants to be, but he's good. I don't know if he's a GC guy. Definitely not now when Uijtdebroeks joined the team. That reduces the chances of Jurgensen as a GC rider, I think. But yeah, the guy can do a lot of things. He's a good one-day racer. He got the skills for a classics race. He got the skills for a 1 week race. He can be a stage hunter. This is a good move, in my opinion.
He complained a lot about the lack of professionalism within Movistar, and that's his main reason why he left the Spanish squad to go to Jumbo-Visma, because that's a whole different story. They are the best on looking at a professional approach of it. But it's so difficult. Like that guy is so versatile that you don't know how they will play him out, how they will will they let him go towards the classics and be in the super squad to support Van Aert, or just to be an extra leader? Laporte, Jurgensen, Benoot, Wout. That's a stellar team as well. And then
we all know by now that being a domestique in that classic squad doesn't necessarily mean you don't get a chance. And the fact that they got 5 or 6 options in that team is super dangerous. The only problem they have, most of the time, they don't have the best one when it really matters.
Yeah.
Good that you know that.
No, you got to be honest about that. And they know that as well.
But I'm talking about Tour of Flanders, but Pogacar not going to the Tour of Flanders can be beneficial for Jumbo-Visma.
I mean, they just have to really keep their eye on
Definitely.
Because Pogacar is the guy who let the race explode from far out because he needs a very tough race. And now Matteo has to do it on his own. And that can create a little bit of freedom for Jumbo-Visma, I think.
The one thing I know is that it increases the pressure on the team of Van der Poel.
True.
But that team is not super strong. They actually don't really have any very strong incoming transfers this year. And
that may be a possibility for other teams, but yeah.
All right.
That's something else.
Let's maybe move on to the...
Can I add one name to the GC guys? It's once again UAE. Isaac del Toro. That guy, what's wrong with him?
You say about Tulett, he's too young. I don't know. He hasn't really proven a thing. But this guy is going to win a Grand Tour in the next 2 or 3 years as well.
I'm just going to mention Isaac del Toro is a rider to watch. And you mentioned Tulett is a future Grand Tour leader. There is a lot between that.
I agree with both of them.
And Isaac del Toro won Tour de l'Avenir in 2023. A very strong guy. It's just I wanted to mention him as a rider to watch, and I'm interested to see how UAE will play him out in their squad. He will probably race the .pro races a little bit to get to know the pro level. But that guy is certainly... Don't be surprised if he gets into a top 5 or a top 3 in a tough stage.
Yeah, I think they're just going to play him out exactly the same way as they played Ayuso when he came in. I basically see him as very similar riders, similar profiles, also just dominating or being very strong in that under 23 category. UAE does know what to do with those types of guys.
Where does he come from?
Mexico.
Something special.
Yeah.
Something unique.
Definitely.
Good.
Also nice to see in the pro peloton. All right. Classics and domestique riders. I started out with Remy Cavagna. Well, and there's going to be some more riders coming from Soudal Quick-Step here on this list, but Remy Cavagna I want to start out with because in the past he's been really used as a helper for Remco, but I really see him as put him in the classics and he's going to be insane, but it never really do that.
I think he will be the next one on the list of riders to leave Soudal Quick-Step and try to grab their chance in another team during the classics, but fell completely. Patrick Lefevre, he says, I don't see how Cavagna will be able to compete for the win in classics, and I have to agree with the Godfather.
First of all, I don't see Cavagna as a classics rider, although he wants to be that. I see him more as a, how are you gonna say it? A light Matej Mohoric version in some hilly Grand Tour stages, but in classic season,
Parouder.
I don't think he can do a lot. Maybe a top 10 if he's lucky, but he's just someone who can handle a lot of kilojoules, a very tough stage with hills the whole time. So like Mohoric in the Grand Tours, but in the classic season, I have no clue what he's gonna do there.
Well, I've got a quote here from his announcement on the website of Movistar, and it says, "I want to reach my full potential, work on the position on the time trial bike and all aspects of performance and aerodynamics."
And
But then,
I go to Movistar for that. They are called Movie Star as well because they have a lovely Netflix series, and their main language is Spanish. So that guy is French. If you look to get everything out of the best performance, best position, then Movistar is one of the lowest spots on my list to go to. You have the French teams, Cofidis, Decathlon, AG Desert. They are getting more professional. We had a chat with Steph Kras earlier this off-season as well. But they have a lot of deficit in comparison to the top-tier teams, and Movistar is amongst them. That's the reason why Jorgensen left. And he's going there for that. And I don't think Soudal Quick-Step was that bad in it as well. They made some steps with Evenepoel, as Evenepoel mentioned as well. They took some steps regarding nutrition. So I don't think it's going to be better within the Movistar squad.
so I think we can conclude that we don't really believe in this move.
Do we believe in that move? The team brought in Nairo Quintana, and besides that, what's the identity of that team right now? What's their main focus? Where can they excel? Nowhere. So, is it a good move? He can take a stage win in a Grand Tour, and then it's a good move, of course, because he gave the team exposure. There is Movistar with the how they are and how the history they have with Alejandro Valverde. Are they happy with that? I wouldn't be if I would be the CEO of Movistar.
All right, next one.
Another one coming from Soudal Quick-Step. I have Andrea Baggioli going to Lidl-Trek. This is another one of those where Lidl-Trek is actually doing a stellar move, in my opinion.
Very good move.
Andrea Baggioli in the Italian races, in the spring Ardennes races, just very strong. I really am looking forward to seeing how he does there. It's one of those transfers where how does Soudal Quick-Step let him leave? Let Schmidt leave?
I think we have to see it as there was a lot of uncertainty about Soudal Quick-Step in that time, and Soudal Quick-Step let go a lot of riders, good riders. Modo Schmidt, like you mentioned, Baggioli, Cavagna is a good rider within the squad as well.
Well, the funny thing about riders leaving Soudal Quick-Step is that you always get a tasty quote of Patrick Lefevre on top of it. And about Andrea Baggioli, the guy said he didn't want to extend his contract because performances and wage weren't on the same level.
The man literally finished second in Lombardia.
Just, sorry for the word, a fuck you to Patrick Lefevre to leave the team because it was his last race day within that colors. So he proved there what he's capable of.
Yeah, I think honestly amazing response. And
he won 2 days before Lombardia. He won Grand Piemonte, and 3 days before that he finished third in the Coppa Bernocchi. So I don't know when that transfer exactly was announced, but it would be quite funny if the announcement was the 1st of October and then he started to perform.
think it was announced before those races. So
Yeah, but we don't know when they talked about it, of course.
just in general, this is an amazing transfer for Lidl-Trek. Really looking
And
forward.
he's gonna start the Giro. So I don't know what's the plan.
He wants to get a Grand Tour stage. That's
Yeah.
his goal of the season,
So-
together with the Ardennes Classics.
Oh, that's lovely. Looking forward to see him in the Ardennes Classics.
All right. Well, the next one from Soudal Quick-Step. Mauro Schmidt, another one where I don't understand how this transfer happens, where Soudal Quick-Step lets him leave. And of course, there's more beautiful quotes from the godfather of cycling. But he's one of those, he's a rider that never got used right in that team, in my opinion. He's super strong rider, but he's always been used sort of as a domestique.
Yeah, he
But he
was
can win,
kind
right?
of a mystery within the team, I think. But the fact that he left the team, of course, he had troubles with Patrick Lefevre as well. The guy, according to Patlef, he lost his GPS in Las Vegas on a trip there. So, yeah, it's a big win for
He had-
Jaiko.
Mauro Schmidt had an amazing response on that from Patrick Lefevre because a day later he uploaded a ride on Strava in Las Vegas or Los Angeles.
Yeah, well-
So he didn't lose his GPS tracker or his Garmin. Or
According to
Wahoo or
Mauro
whatever.
Schmidt, he didn't train because his bike arrived too late in the States.
Yeah, once again, he's very young as well, only 24. So that guy has a lot of potential, and it's a stellar move from Jaco Alula. I don't know. He's not going. He's not going to Tour Down Under. Probably they will give that to the Aussies within the team. But I expect them to see on a very high level. And he won the Baloise Belgian Tour in 2022.
Right.
Was that with the Tim Wellens clash and that golden kilometer
the
battle that they?
I have no
that-
idea.
that
They
three-
always fight in that
I
golden
think-
kilometer.
But that were three Soudal Quick-Step guys who
With
just
Lampaard in
who
there as well.
just tried to block Wellens to go for the bonifications. So I remember him from that race, if it was that race, of course. But
Yeah, he's also already won a Giro stage. So, a Giro stage winner to your team at 24 years old. And this is a really good transfer for Jaco Alula. Anything else about Mauro Schmidt?
no,
No. All right. Maybe then an incoming transfer for Soudal Quick-Step since we're on their team anyway. And maybe an even more controversial one. Gianni Moscon. Coming from Astana. This is one of those where nobody really knows what is going to happen there.
I see Hannes is very silent when the name drops of Gianni Moscon because he has a dark background, everything that happened with him. But I think pure performance-wise, it was a bargain. It was very cheap. It was very cheap, and if they can get him on the rails, he's gonna be a beast for that classic squad.
The only question I have, Gianni Moscon is one of the strongest personalities within the peloton, and then you put him in the same team as Patrick Lefevre, as Daddy Evenepoel and Remco Evenepoel.
But
Yeah,
it's not.
that's asking for a
But
clash.
it's not a lot. Moscon and Evenepoel are not gonna race a lot together. The Flemish classics. They
I
will
thought
not.
they brought Moscon to the team to support Evenepoel on the flat.
I
He was the
think-
replacement of Tim de Klerk.
Right, Evenepoel is not gonna win a Grand Tour then because he's gonna fight with Gianni instead of battling over the
Moscon
hills
is just
or
going to
mountains.
break check him.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good move.
This is a good move
For the amount of money that
for the
you
amount of
provide.
money they've.
Performance-wise, it might be, but it's a risk for your team, I think.
Yeah, they're going to have to basically keep him out of the press.
But
because
if
he's
there
got
is
a-
someone
he's
who
got a
can
big
keep
mouth.
him quiet, it's Patrick Lefevre.
That's for sure.
He's basically going to dominate.
If Moscon is gonna shout, Patrick is gonna shout even louder, and then he's not. He's have to go on a training camp to some sort of isolated island to calm down. So, I think it's a good move. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned De Klerk there, that Moscon would replace him. But I think they announced someone else as well for that, Aiko Bastians, that he would be able to replace De Klerk. And
That's a joke.
I put him in this list because I don't know where they're like he is coming from the Alpecin dev team.
Yeah.
At 27 years old. He's now been given the opportunity to go to the Alpecin main team. That must mean something, but for some reason
It's weird.
Soudal Quick-Step picks him up.
I don't know what he has, but it must be special.
Blackmail on Kotler.
Replacing Tim de Klerk is not easy, definitely not. And yeah, I don't think he's the right one to do so.
No further comment.
All right. Well, we have De Klerk on our list as well. He's going to Lidl-Trek. What do we expect from him there? The same, or does he basically not have a job there because Lidl-Trek does not control races?
Exactly, it's a different style of racing, and definitely in the classics. They have Mats Pedersen and Jasper Stuyven, but let's be honest, they don't have Van der Poel, they don't have Van Aert, they don't have Pogacar, they don't have Tom Bonen, Niki Terpstra, Philippe Gilbert, as Soudal Quick-Step had in the past. But how are they going to use De Klerk? At which point in the race?
The classic squad of Lidl-Trek is growing in a positive way. They aren't going to control a race from start to finish, but I think having a De Klerk in the team to support...
carry the bottles.
Not only that, but
put the leader out of the wind.
Within the last 100 Ks, he can stick with the front group quite long. Certainly, if he doesn't have to do that long pulls at the front, he might go with the front group a little bit longer, and I think it's...
Actually, I hope so.
And then you will see he will be a huge support for Mats Pedersen, Quinn Simmons, if he... those guys are... I think it's a good move, and I think we might see him get a chance in a smaller Flemish Classic if he gets in that.
He deserves it.
You have to see like he sometimes went into the final 50 Ks of a race still in the leading group, but you have to know he was already in front 200 kilometers earlier, just pulling that power output the same, your nose in the wind. So how fun would it be? Like a group of 6, and then you have a Tim de Klerk in the Lidl-Trek jersey. That's going to be so weird, by the way.
Yeah.
Jump away, and then there's hesitation in the back, and then Tim de Klerk puts his hand in the air. And then he's going to meet Yves Lampaert. It doesn't matter if they are in opposite teams or not, but this is going to be... Oh, I can't wait on the interview after that race.
Potlev had an interesting story about this one as well. He said... Tim de Klerk, he wanted to stay, and we wanted him to stay as well. But Tim wanted me to decrease his wage, but I didn't want that. In my experience, a rider that earns less money than before is a rider whose performances will decrease as well.
This is one of these quick-step stories where it makes no sense. No, yeah. I don't know if that's the real reason, but...
Bajoli, he asked too much money. De Klerk,
they
he
should
didn't
have
ask
talked to
enough.
each other and they just made a deal between them. No, I kind of hope to see De Klerk as a breakaway rider, actually. Not the breakaway breaker turning into the breakaway rider. I think actually he could do...
So the Mohoric kind of guy, or who do you compare with De Klerk in your imagination for 2024 then? Do you have a rider in mind who is doing the same?
Like we said before, we shouldn't be comparing riders.
That's a boring answer, Bram.
No, I think Yves was right when saying he could sneak into an anticipating move in one of the smaller classics and then, play it out.
Oh, I'm
I'm
just dreaming. Oh, I'm going to sleep so good tonight.
I don't see him dropping any other riders, but... I think he's just... Well, I'm going to be watching his season very closely. All right. I also have on my list Matteo Trentin, going from UAE, maybe 1 or 2 steps back to Team Tudor Pro Cycling.
Trentin had a big role in helping Pogačar learning to know the Flemish classics.
Niels and Paulus also said that.
Where to ride, when to come to the front, when you can go to the back to take a pee. He was quite a mentor for Pogačar in his early, when the first time he came to the Cobalt Classics. And this year he did amazing work as well. He was in that big front group that a lot of people thought that will go to the finish. And then he was a very good domestique for Pogačar in the Cobalt Classics. So, but is it a loss for UAE? No, if you see what they bought. But they lose a lot of experience with Trentin. And I don't know, is he going away because he wanted to be a leader again, or does he want to give his expertise to some younger guys within the Tudor team? I have no clue about that.
I think he's going to be more of a road captain kind of guy. Like, I do think he still has some qualities to.
At Tudor, you can combine both of them, I think.
But yeah, I think we can't forget they depend on wildcards because it's a pro Conti team. They bought quite a lot of strong guys. Marco Brenner as well, Alberto Dainese, Michael Storer. So those guys are very strong, but they are still pro Conti. So, and their classic squad isn't that strong, so I don't know if they will get a wildcard for that big races like the E3, like Tour of Flanders.
There are a lot of teams on the same level there, I think. There's a lot of competition for those wildcards. You also have the Titema guys, for instance. Yeah,
That's more popularity.
I don't expect to see them that often here in Flanders, to be honest.
It will be like in a Nokere Koers, etc. They will probably start, but yeah, it's an interesting move, and I think I don't know for how long he signed, but it's for 3 years.
And how old is he?
34. That's ballsy from Tudor to sign him for 3 years, actually.
Yeah, but judging by the level he had this year, it's still quite high. So going into next year, like, even if it goes down gradually, by his last year, he's still going to be
a decent road captain for that team.
It all depends on his personal ambitions, of course, as well.
Well, I just hope that we get to actually see the team in some of the big races, because that's kind of what I fear with Tudor Pro Cycling. Maybe I've kind of lost my train of thought here, but we kind of already talked about Alpecin, how they didn't really have many good incoming transfers, but actually one of the outgoing transfers that I thought was really interesting was Dries De Bondt. I don't understand. Like, to me, Dries De Bondt is a part of Alpecin. He's kind of that identity. Seeing him leave the team is going to be
it will be weird to see him in another shirt. I don't know if AG Desert would be the team I would want to go to be honest. They're absolutely not the strongest team. They don't have the strongest classic squad. They don't know how to race most of the times. But yeah, clearly Dries De Bondt wanted some more freedom. I think having Mathieu van der Poel in your team means you won't get a lot of chances. And in that case, AG Desert is a good team to go to, I think.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to add about that. It's a very weird move. It's basically because he wants more freedom. But will he achieve more because of that? I have my doubts. He became Belgian champion. He is a good classics rider. But there are quite a bit of riders who are better than him.
I like the Grand Tour version of Dries De Bondt more. Attacking every day, going into breakaways. And I think that's his biggest chance on a nice result.
Then he has to domestique for Felix Gall and Ben O'Connor. So.
Yeah, but there are 3 Grand Tours.
It's a French squad.
And you have Sam Bennett
Common
as well.
sense doesn't exist within that squad.
Okay, no further comment.
I mean, it's a World Tour team. They get automatically, they get to go to all the big races. For the Belgian Classics, he basically doesn't have to fight for his spot in the Classics team anymore. He just
He's sure.
automatically picked. Like, look,
Oliver
the rest,
Naassen, mate, come on.
of course, like him, Oliver Naassen, and then the rest. You have
Was quite interesting. Oliver
Some of the
Naassen
Festival.
asked Arnaud Delis to go to the team as well.
yeah, I mean, I
And in
think-
that case, it would have been different.
Yeah, but
no, the other way around, right? Where Arnaud Delis asked
Oliver Naassen.
Oliver Naassen to come to
I
Lotto.
thought Arnaud Delis was asked to go to AG2R.
I have no clue. I just know Decathlon brings a bag of money to the team, and they still aren't able to buy. They bought.
At
We're
least
gonna
they
talk
can-
about it later.
Yeah. We can talk about it now because I think Victor Lafay is one of those transfers where I'm actually really interested in what he does there. Like he's won a tour stage for a French rider. for
But
a
he
French
wasn't supposed to.
team. No, sure.
A Frenchman leaving a French squad for another French squad.
It's the most normal thing in the world.
That means
No, that's drama.
you aren't very eager to improve nutrition-wise, performance-wise. Is Decathlon AG2R much better than Cofidis? Cofidis had a better season in 2023 than AG2R had. And the money, but yeah.
It all comes down to the money.
Yeah, okay. How old are you, Victor Lafay? You're 27 years old. All right, you're in the autumn of your career. You can...
That's a little.
From the
That's
pool
harsh.
is in the autumn of his career then.
Even Pogacar said in the interview yesterday he's old. He's getting old, so he's doing the Giro double.
Yeah, he's
He's
been racing on the highest level for like 6 years. No, not 6 years.
Yeah, but
At least five.
this doesn't feel very good to talk about Pogacar when Victor Lafay is on my screen. So
I mean, Victor Lafay stuck to
No, but
Pogacar's wheel in the first stage of the tour.
yes,
I think
this-
compared to Dries De Bondt, Lafay is a good transfer.
I do think so as well. I think Lafay, if he's on form, well, he can be very surprising. Like before the season,
And you don't get to race in the brown shorts.
well, nobody gets to race in brown shorts anymore. So I don't know if that was his requirement for joining the team. All right. In the domestique classics rider section, I put one where I don't really know where to put him, and that's Luke Plapp, because
I thought you would mention someone else.
do I have more in there?
Rui Costa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also one of those where
No,
the hell do
no.
you put him? But
Let's talk about our young wolf from the OG days of Domestique. He was the first one. I remember us being at the Belgian Championships cyclocross in Ostende when there was COVID. And there were Australian criteriums back then, so it was built up towards the nationals. We were super hyped. Like Plapp is starting in...
We woke up at 4 in the middle of the night.
I think it was a third tier criterium, like 1 or 2 pros. But Plapp was on the list. Turns out we woke up at 4 in the morning.
He wasn't in the peloton.
He wasn't in the peloton. So
wasn't ahead of it either. No.
But
No, he was not racing that
he
day.
was not racing because he had COVID. I think he didn't participate in the individual time trial as well. But
That was the start of our love story.
yeah, and I still believe in the guy. He had a rough 2023 season.
Well, after the 2022 season, I thought, yeah, here we go. He's ready for more. But then this season, 2023, yeah, wasn't good at all. I don't know what the problems were. But maybe, yeah, coming home at Jaiko Alula, for a lot of Australians, it feels like a fresh start. And maybe, yeah, let's hope a new environment will do him well.
I don't know what happened as well because he started the season strong. He became national champion again. Then he was he crashed at a bad moment in 2 Down Under. But then he went to UAE Tour and he finished second behind Evenepoel, Yates, behind
Evenepoel.
Evenepoel. His month of January was good, but then it all started to fade when he did not start Catalonia, and then he didn't finish Basque Country, didn't finish Tour of Hungary, and then I think he never found his good form again.
Yeah, it's kind of from the moment he came to Europe this season, it all went to shit.
I don't know if he became ill or something in the travel towards Europe.
I don't know exactly. The DNS in Catalonia, there must be a story there because he didn't start on stage 1.
Yeah.
But I don't know the exact story. I just think that he's gonna kind of flower again in an Australian team. I think he really needs that Australian identity. I just saw that he raced again a couple of stages of the Tour of Brighton, and won 2 stages and the GC. Now in December, of course, now is their racing season. So yeah, he's enjoying racing in Australia, and I think he's gonna work well in
Jaiko is also a team in which you can get a lot of freedom if you really want to. So I think that will pretty much suit him.
Yeah, I just think that their Tour Down Under team is so stacked. Like, they're sending all of their Australian riders and Simon Yates.
I love that team. I think I mentioned in our Discord server that team can do a lot on the flat and on the hills. It's quite an easy parkour this year. There's Wollonga Hill.
Wollonga Hill.
That one. But Mount Lofty is climbed from the easier side this year. So
For the people who don't know, who's lining up for Jaiko?
do you want me to start with? Yeah, okay. Luke Plapp, Simon Yates, Callan O'Brien, Michael Hepburn, Chris Hoppe, Campbell Stewart. Oh, and I forgot the Lotto Destiny star of old days, Caleb Ewan.
We'll get back to him.
We will, but I am looking forward to seeing that squad on the road in Australia. I think it's going to be nice to see it in front of their home crowds. And then, let's wrap up the domestique section with the last domestique, I guess, but we don't really know what his role is going to be at EF. Rui Costa.
To education first.
Yeah.
In my head, that's kind of a step up
Yeah,
at the age of 37.
it's 1 year, a 1 year contract. So it's probably his final year. I don't know if he has a good relationship with Jonathan
I
Valdes.
think education first didn't want to take the risk of giving him 2 years at that age.
But he's
normal.
37, so he can finish his season in 2024 as well.
But at the same time, it's pretty sad for Intermarché as well because they wanted him to stay and he wanted to stay as well, but the team didn't have the money to keep him. I looked it up this afternoon. 2023 was the second most successful season for Rui Costa in his career.
It's kind of incredible for a
That's
former world
insane.
champion.
That's insane.
The old fox, Rui Costa.
And
If he,
I do see a fit with education first.
It's an attacking squad. It's a fun squad. They have Carapaz as their leader for the Grand Tour, but besides that, they can just go rogue in a lot of stages, a lot of races, and then Rui Costa is the perfect fit for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I mean, I don't know how he's going to play with someone like Paulus. I think they both are stage hunters at this moment in their careers.
Yeah, but education first isn't the team that sends a GC squad to every Grand Tour, I think.
No.
They always have some spots for stage hunters as well, so it will work.
All right.
I agree.
All right, let's wrap up the domestique classics and whatever riders and maybe go to the big carousel that took place all over the cycling teams. All the sprinters, basically no sprinter is going to be in the same team as it was this year, with the exception of Melir, maybe. Philipsen and Melir, basically, yeah. All the other ones are on the move. Let's start off with Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett. Okay. It's a difficult one to start with.
That's
But
so.
what strikes me is that, first of all, he's going to AG2R. I already said some things about that team, but they gave him a 2-year deal. He got a 2-year deal at Bora-hansgrohe. He got 6 victories in those 2 years. Eschborn Frankfurt, 2 Vuelta stages, a stage at Vuelta a San Juan. And with all due respect to our friend Mihai on X, but he also won 2 stages of the Sibiu cycling tour.
He dominated that race.
Come on, 6 victories in 2 years at Bora. That's poor.
I think Caleb Ewan is jealous on that.
It's poor. And then then you still get a 2-year deal at AG2R. Yeah, that's basically saying, excuse me, but we do have a lot of money, too much money.
Yeah, we just have this big bag of money. Can someone take it? Because we don't know what to do with
Help
it.
us out.
Help us.
He's 33. So at the end of that contract, he's 35 and probably has won
They will
4
extend him.
races.
They probably will
Yeah,
extend him.
I mean, there are other sprinters at a ripe age that are able to still win and go for it. Mark Cavendish, for example. But I don't really want to compare Sam Bennett to Mark Cavendish.
No.
don't.
Also, AG2R isn't really the team that has the strongest of sprint trains.
Do they have one?
As far as I know, they don't really have one. And I think Bennett is a sprinter who
He really needs one. Yeah, he can't
a good one?
self-position.
So
They have Gianluca Polloflit. They brought him in as lead out and sprinter in that team, very young, 21 years old. Then they have, that's it.
So
I'm gonna quickly scan it. Armira,
so no
Dries De
leader
Bondt,
guy.
the Pastel de Wolf in the train, but not final guy.
Oliver Nassen.
The Parapenter brothers, no. Non-splitters, no. No, they don't. Andrea Vendrami, but that's not a leader guy as well.
He wants
In my-
Laurie Warebase, but that's
Let's conclude this is a poor move.
definitely. I think this is probably the poorest move among all the sprinters that we're going to be talking about.
Can he win a Tour de France stage?
No. Let's talk about someone else. Caleb Ewan. Can he?
Let's talk about the next one then.
Yeah, Ewan, he steps up. He goes back to the World Tour at Jaiko. In the same team as Dylan Groenewegen. Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a great season in 2024. As I said, same case with Plapp. The Aussies get home, and that, yeah, in most cases it means they step up their game again. So I have big expectations actually for Caleb Ewan.
Honestly, I kind of did too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really good season. Because, well, it really wasn't working out at Lotto. Just the way that Tour de France ended for them was just horrible to see. And now, yeah, I think he's just going to vibe so much better in an Australian team. He's going to feel home there.
And also Groenewegen is going to Tour de France, I think. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good case too for Ewan. I don't know. I think
He's targeting
he didn't win a Grand Tour stage the past 2 years.
3 even.
So it's a good thing not to start at the Tour de France again then.
Mm-hmm. And they've already made some pretty clear divisions between which sprinter will go
Which
where.
is necessary, I think.
And I think that's something that, for example, Soudal Quick-Step could have learned from in the past couple seasons instead of waiting in the week before to announce which sprinter
Sure.
they're taking. All right, we can move quick now.
We're sprinters.
Yeah, maybe let's go to...
Oh
that
my
was
god.
That was a great joke. To Jacobsen. To DSM.
DSM had to bring in a sprinter. They lost Welsford.
Yeah.
And Dainese.
And Dainese. Jacobsen had a not too bad 2023 season, less than 2022, but still he won.
It was bad.
Not bad.
I remember I was sitting here in the same room and I said he was the disappointment of my season.
Yes, I'm very happy for you.
No,
Wait,
Jacobsen, he wanted to go to the Tour de France in 2024 again, but with Remco Evenepoel, that's not possible, and even Tim Merlier, he also wants to go. So if you really want to be sure of a place at the Tour de France, then yeah, you need to leave. And I think, yeah, I kind of see a fit between Fabio Jacobsen and Team DSM, to be honest.
I mean, it's a Dutch team, so it's kind of maybe a trend of this transfer season, like the riders going to the teams of their nationality. Yeah, to be fair, Fabio Jacobsen, his season has really not been good for a sprinter that I still consider to be one of the fastest. I think Philipsen is faster, but behind that, Jacobsen should come really close. And it really hasn't happened this year. I mean, he's gotten his wins in. I don't know how many.
He was able to beat Philipsen 3 times. One time Tirreno Adriatico and 2 stages in the Baloise Belgium Tour.
Yeah, but how much was the reverse?
Much more, of course, but
Yeah.
still.
It could just be bad positioning on Philipsen's part or whatever. So, yeah. At DSM, the sprinter culture in the past couple seasons has not been that great, especially the lead-outs, especially with Dainese basically having no lead-out. That was always a problem, and I don't think that's solved.
The lead-out train at DSM is definitely better as the one at AG Desert. But yeah, I don't know who is the big lead-out man there. But yeah, I think it might work out.
They still have quite a strong team. They have Julius van den Berg. That's a climber. They bought in Julius van den Berg. Who is the sprinter? Martin of Julius? Martin. I think it's Martin van den Berg from Education First. But they still have Pavel Bittner. He's a fast guy, very young as well. He can get in that lead-out train. Niels Eekhoff, same story.
Didn't Liepins go to the team as well? Not really a lead-out guy, but someone for the first places in the train?
Yes, he went there. So yeah, they can do something there. It's
Sure they can.
It's a good move for Fabio Jacobsen, to be fair.
Jacobsen, he goes to DSM, but DSM at the same time loses 2 of their sprinters, Welsford and Dainese. You can start with the best one of the 2.
That's a tricky question. I think Welsford is the best of the 2.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. You're not the biggest fan of Dainese. Welsford to Bora-hansgrohe. Do you see a fit?
Like DSM lost their main sprinters. Bora lost their main sprinter with Sam Bennett as well.
Was he though? Jordi Meus? He won on the Champs-Élysées?
Yes, but
Yes, Dieterloos.
who was the main sprinter in that team in 2023 season?
On paper, it was Bennett. But who was the strongest of the 2?
The Champs-Élysées is the 21st station in Tour de France, then more than half of the season is over.
Yeah, well, it's bigger than the 6 victories in 2 years for Sam Bennett, in my opinion.
Still the best sprinter in the team is Danny van Poppel, but sadly he doesn't want to be main sprinter. And if you can be in the wheel of Danny van Poppel, you are in the mix for the win. Because Danny van Poppel is a master leader guy, and he's arguably maybe the strongest in the current peloton right now.
Yeah,
Danny van Poppel is a gem to have in a team. He knows when to go. He has been a main sprinter, so he has the experience when to go, when he have to let go his sprinter in the wheel. So if they can work out a communication together, like we saw Markov Jacobsen, that communication didn't go that well. And you saw Markov Cavendish. The difference between that, there has to be a blind trust in the lead-out guy. And if they can create that within Bora, then he's going to have a couple of nice wins in the 2024 season.
Exactly. Van Poppel is what makes this move interesting to follow, I think.
And I don't know, Ryan Mullen, etc., are they still within the Bora team? Because they had a very strong sprint train. I don't know if Mullen...
I think Mullen stays.
I think so as well.
So there is actually a very strong GC squad within Bora, and then you have a very strong sprint squad as well. Then you can raise the question, maybe what in the Tour de France?
I mean, I think they're going to put everything on
That's
Roglic,
pretty
right?
obvious, no?
So no sprinter to...
No
The
big
Tour.
sprint train, at least.
No, I think if you
Two
if you get
domestiques?
Roglic, then
For a
Van-
sprinter,
Van Poppel plus someone else.
there are 8 places at Tour de France. One
But you
goes to
can use
Roglic.
Van Poppel is pure Lido guy for the sprinter, and then you can put someone who can help in the Lido train but can pull on the flats as well.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 max.
But like, do you take Yves? Because like he did win on the Champs-Élysées. It's kind of odd to then leave him home the next year.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think next one, Jonathan Milan, the big guy.
Big guy. That's an understatement.
Powerhouse.
The beast.
Yeah, once again a big move, literally for a little trek.
He fills in 2 spots in the bus, so that guy is so.
He was the
massive.
one Viviani said about he was about to win Milan-San Remo, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that didn't happen at all.
Didn't he drop before the Portuguese?
He dropped on Chypres.
On the
No, but
Cipressa, yeah,
he's
yeah.
an impressive sprinter. And I do think we haven't seen the best Jonathan Milan yet.
I want to discover him as a classics rider this season, and Lidl-Trek wants to play him out within the classics squad as well. We know he's a phenomenal sprinter with a typical style, high cadence, head up, so aerodynamics. He
even
doesn't
wrote,
really care about it at this point. So
he even wrote the final of Omloop het Nieuwsblad this year, I think. He was in the group together with Arnaud Delis, was in there, I think.
He was 12th in Kuurne.
Was he at the start of Omloop het Nieuwsblad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I,
36th.
he played a major role, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they will. Him as a classics rider is gonna be entertaining. It's like the Tour of Flanders, etc. I don't see it happen because he's very heavy, but maybe in a couple of years as well in Paris-Roubaix, we don't know. He has the body. He can handle extreme weather conditions if you see him, and
I think it's
If it-
actually a problem for Lotto and Delis, because I think Milan and Delis can have very similar profiles of the races that they can go for.
yeah, that's true. I think the Lee can handle a little bit more of a hilly terrain than Milan, but
Pretty sure.
Milan can still develop a little bit as well, and it will depend on his priorities. Does he want to be, as a priority, a sprinter? Then he doesn't really have to change his morphology of a lot. But if he wants to be a classics rider, then you have the Kuurne-Roubaix style of races, or if he wants to go a little bit harder, then you have, So a lot depends on his personal ambitions, but it's going to be interesting to see him in a strong squad like Lidl-Trek in the Flemish Classics.
Definitely. And I actually really want to see him in Roubaix. He was there this year already, but DNF'd.
Can I use him as a dark horse then, or is it the same story as Ghana last year?
For Roubaix?
Yeah.
I think that's a dark horse, yeah.
Yeah, I would consider that a dark horse.
Right. I'm gonna look up his odds. I'm gonna lose a lot of money then again.
All right. We already talked about Dainese, did we? Do we need to talk about it more? 'Cause
Yeah, Dainese to Tudor.
I have actually a question. What's wrong with Alberto Dainese?
Yeah, I don't get it.
he needs to be delivered on the line. Like, a roundabout confuses him.
What's the difference with Cavendish right now?
No.
No.
About 35.
Purely about the thing he has to be delivered on the line.
Cav, even undelivered, can finish second in the Tour de France stage. Like, this year, Cav didn't really have a good lead-out train at the Tour, still finished second in a stage. I don't see Dainese doing that
But I think
without a
it's
delivery.
harsh to say. I think a lot of sprinters like to be delivered to the line, and that's
But there's difference between like to be delivered and need to be delivered. Alberto Dainese needs to be delivered. If he doesn't have his team ahead of him, he doesn't finish top 10.
I think if we look all those sprinters, then I think we can say for quite a bit of Jakobsen same. Jakobsen has, if he doesn't have the leader guy he trusts, he's getting boxed into corners and he is not going for Ewan.
Yeah, I mean,
And it was
that's your
this
favorite
is a
subject.
podcast, but for the listeners, Bram was starstruck by my extremely
I think-
powerful quote.
You can't deny the fact that Dainese going to Tudor is a big move for that team.
For that team, sure, yeah. But
You see it more as a step down for Dainese than a step up for the Tudor team.
I think it's a step up for a Tudor team, but I'm not sure where they're going to be able to display those qualities because of, well, basically their whole uncertainty of where they can start.
So you think the main sprinter for Tudor is... Nee.
No,
that's
it's going to
incorrect.
be Dainese. But
It's not going to be Arvid de Klein.
no, although he was pretty damn good in the past year.
It's gonna be a Dainese.
Of course it has to be, but in which races? Like, are they going to the Giro? We of course don't know yet, but
Isn't Tudor one of the sponsors?
it
Tudor
is.
is a sponsor of a Grand Tour, so...
Well, if they don't go to the Giro, then they're done.
And if he wins a stage there, I will remember this.
He knows how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it before, but I'm just not a big Dainese believer.
Anyway, if Dainese to Tudor was difficult, what can we say about Walscheid to Jaiko? He's one of the favorite riders of Dieter Los, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Another one of those.
Does he fit in this list?
I saw actually Walscheid on the sprinters list. Is he more a classic guy?
Yeah, he's not a sprinter to me.
The thing is, in Grand Tours, especially in the tougher ones like the Vuelta, I think was it.
Yeah, it's Cofidis.
Yeah, but it's the Vuelta.
Except Brian Cocard, who's champion in top 5 in. It's
Anyway, we can skip him then.
No,
no. He's
He's
an
a-
interesting guy, an interesting transfer.
he can be interesting as a lead-out man, I think.
For who?
For Caleb?
For Kyle.
And Groenewegen?
Ah, yeah. Walscheid as leader, I never saw that before. He never did that, I think.
Yeah, well, listen to me.
I want to see him in Roubaix again.
Yeah, sure, that as well. But
He's going to lead out Cocard. And you're not going to see Cocard
I
go
think
over the
Dieter
finish line.
I think Dieter is a little too hyped about Walscheid, to be honest. He's not gonna like me,
I
but
think you have to watch Strava to see his power numbers, and then you will say something different.
it's not all about the numbers.
That's our
Try to
entire-
explain that to Dieter. He's not here and he's one of the main topics in this podcast.
When does he get a transfer? Anyway, we have one more specific rider.
There is Project 35 left, I think.
No, we also have.
Ah, yeah. I was too fast again. Sprint.
You want to
Calm
wrap it
down.
up?
I know you're hungry and you want some fries, but calm down.
We have Luke Lamperti.
Yeah, also, not a sprinter.
Big move.
Big move, but
Arguably a sprinter. I'm gonna let Hannes do the explanation about that.
I think he fits more in the classics list. He wants to be good at the classics races, and then Soudal Quick-Step is one of the best teams you can go to, I think, to learn.
Is or was?
To learn, still is, I think.
Because the staff is still there, but most
Yeah,
of the classic
they've
riders
got the
have left.
history in it. They know how to do it.
They just don't have the riders to do it anymore.
They don't have the best riders to win the biggest races. That's for sure. No, don't you think this is a fit?
It is a fit, but I think it's one of those where it's going to be really hard for it to work out because the races that he's coming for, well, I guess he's going to have earlier chances at leadership because of it.
Yeah, he's starting Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne and GP Denay are both confirmed on his schedule right now.
Yeah, but it's also difficult to know if that's true.
Why not?
Those two races. Why those two races?
Because he probably mentioned it in some sort of podcast. But still, I love this move. He was 3 years within the Trinity Racing squad, and that's a good squad to be in as a youngster. You have quite a nice race schedule within that squad in the youth races. And I understand why you put him in the sprinter list, because he had a lot of good performances in sprint races. But he's more than a sprinter. He is actually. I don't want to compare, but he's more a Deli kind of guy who's fast but can survive tough terrain.
The new Tom Boden.
Also, what played a major role in his decision, apparently, was the fact that he could still race on Specialized bikes. He's from California, and he said, I've been racing Specialized for a couple of years now. Specialized is also based there, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was very happy to keep the brand.
Who's riding with Specialized? Only Bora and
Soudal,
right?
Yeah, because Total Energy switched to Envy.
Yeah, they switched.
All right, and then we do indeed have Project 36.
First question. Who still believes in Project 35?
I do.
I do too.
Same.
All right.
I mean, with the names they've brought in, plus the performance staff, I think that's also important.
And that combination, Morkov, Cavendish, that's good old times. We saw when Cavendish came back to Patrick Lefevre, and the blind trust he has, as we mentioned earlier this podcast. This is, will it happen? It depends on luck as well.
Circumstances.
But
I've got another question regarding that. Do you think Cavendish is still able to beat, for instance, Philipsen in a 1v1 fight?
yes,
But if Philipsen
Do you
is
think
out of
that?
position-
yes.
I was saying I do believe in Project 35 if all circumstances are right.
I think if, for example, was it stage 10 that he got second place?
Where his chain dropped.
Yeah, if he doesn't drop that chain,
He's not winning.
he is winning.
He's not winning.
He is.
The speed Philipsen came, he was already closing in before the chain dropped for that second. It would be close, but he wouldn't have won.
Was that the stage Van der Poel bumped into Girmay as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He was winning.
he was going to win. And
Should
yeah,
have won.
I think with the two guys ahead of Morkov as well, with Ballerini and Kantish, I think that's how they're going to play them out. That's a very strong sprint train.
On paper it is, yeah.
The only problem is the course in the Tour de France.
That's going to be a problem.
That's going to be a problem. It's a tough opening weekend. And before the first sprinting chance, there is already quite a bit of fatigue in the legs, certainly for someone like Cavendish.
I mean,
It's tough. It's going to be rough.
and
there are not a lot of chances as well.
Giro this year,
So it's happening on the Champs-Élysées.
that would be magical.
And then he's done.
The curtain drops and done. I would expect that would happen. Yeah. Any comments on the Astana transfer train
No,
or sprint?
I
train?
hope it works out. That's all I can say.
We're all
they
living on
went
hopes and
all
dreams.
out. That I think we can say that they went all out to give
Also, the trainer, the Greek guy.
Giannis, whatever.
Can't pronounce his name, but
Try it. Try it.
Anastatopoulos. Is it like that?
It ends on os, so that's correct. But
But that was also the trainer the coach who brought him back at Quick-Step,
Quick-Step,
right?
yeah.
So
I think those are just a really good match, and the fact that Cav just has that persuasion power to get him to leave Quick-Step to join Astana as head of performance, I think that says a lot about how committed they are to each other.
absolutely.
All right, then that was all for the men. There are, of course, more transfers that are worth discussing, but we have to cut off some point. So let's talk about some of the women's transfers. And I have them in a certain order, but let's maybe start off with Corin Lecki.
Corin Lecki from Jumbo-Visma to EF Education. First of all, there is a fit between those two teams. Her years at Jumbo-Visma weren't what she expected of it, I think. And yeah, she said she wants to win again. She's a real team player. She does everything to win, but lately she didn't win I think. And her big goal, the Olympics.
It's a course that would suit her, but of course, well, going to the Olympics and doing a team change is not really, doesn't relate to one another. But yeah, I think in women's cycling in general, wanting to win classics, it's going to be so hard if you're not in SD Works. But of course at EF, she's going to be a leader, if not the leader. But yeah, can she beat SD Works?
But we have to note as well, it's the first year it's a family link between the male team and the female team.
Mm-hmm.
So before 2024, it were two separate teams.
That's also why the other team collapsed.
Yeah, and so they go on training camps together, like Niels and Paulus mentioned. And yeah, she's gonna be the main leader in the classics, next to Alison Jackson, who won Roubaix, and will have a protected role as well. But winning will be very difficult.
Definitely. All right. Maybe the next name, Julie van de Velde. And I'm actually really excited to see this transfer.
Yeah, first of all, how old is she?
30.
30. From Phoenix de Koning to AG Insurance, right? And her major goal is developing her climbing skills, targeting Ardennes Classics. Yeah, it's difficult, I think. Winning races is difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the whole women's peloton, the amount of different women that can win races is so much lower.
But she got pretty close at Tour de France, right? Or did she win?
She
won?
She wore the KOM jersey, but she didn't win a stage.
She didn't win a stage, no.
Or
her best finish in
she
Tour
got
de France
caught. She got caught, I think, at 50 meters from the line.
Her best result is 36th in Tour de France.
Unless I'm badly mistaken, but I don't think so.
She was in a break for 59 kilometers of that
Her best
stage.
performance this season was in the Tour de Suisse, where she finished 13th in general classification. But more importantly, she finished, goddammit, 6th in the last stage. A tough stage, up and down. Some women in front of her, Fisher Black, Nieuwe Adoma, Reusser, Vollering. And then Julie van der Velde comes there. So, pretty strong performance there. But how
AG
much
Insurance is World Tour?
Yeah.
I think
How
it's...
much more can she grow knowing she's 30? Is my question.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You can grow, you can increase your volume, but pure your climbing speed will not change drastically, I think. I don't know how professional they approach it within the Alpecin team, of course. If it's a big step up, and it probably is, with Moomin, I think Moomin took some important information from SD Works to AG Insurance. So, but how much more improvement is there for Julie van der Velde? I have my doubts, to be honest.
I think she's should be just a breakaway rider, like what she did at Tour, and it was indeed in the last 50 meters that she got caught in stage 3. I think those are the types of efforts. Like, she held off the peloton for a long time there, and it was actually looking really good for her. In that sort of scenario, winning is always going to be hard, but you bring a sort of value to your team that, not all teams can be SD Works, not all teams are Jumbo-Visma or whatever. So, yeah, I think this is a transfer that is going to work out well.
Yeah.
Right. Then we also have Kristen Faulkner going from Jayco to is it EF as well?
Yes.
Really good transfer.
That's the biggest move within the women's peloton this season. In general, the transfer season has been quite poor in the women's peloton. The majority of the leaders and good riders stick to their team. They are in 2023, but that's a strong move. Signed for 3 years. 3 years is quite a long time within the women's cycling. So she's 31. She stripped away from her Strade Bianche third place because of a
glucose meter. Yeah.
meter. But I compare her a little bit with Grace Brown type of rider who just solos her way on a rolling parkour to the win. I compare her a little bit to Grace Brown.
Well, if EF uses the same way of racing as the men's team, I think this can be a perfect fit. Get some freedom to attack, to do whatever you want, and just hunt the win.
Yeah. Obviously, like, still a super capable rider. Otherwise, you don't. Well, she had a third place at Strade Bianche until the little shoulder with was it Vollering, and she got kind of pushed into the barriers there. Well,
yeah, but she was relegated because of the meter.
Yeah. Still, I think like it's one of those where. I think she's an underrated rider in many ways. Like, she doesn't win often, but it's just, well, yeah. I just really want to see where that transfer goes because EF is really a good fit for her, and also again plays into riders going back to their sort of national teams.
She's gonna be a good stage hunter. I know the dynamics within women's racing is different, but still she's able to lounge a late flyer, and then you never know.
I don't think it will change a lot from what she did at Jaiko, to be honest. It was a team that attacks a lot as well.
But she goes from World Tour to a step lower because Education First isn't a World Tour team.
Yeah, but it's not going to take that long, I think, before they step up.
It means this year probably not the Tour de France. I have no clue, but it will.
I think
they'll get a wild card, pretty sure.
Yeah. All right. Maybe let's talk about Clara Caponi as well. Pretty strong sprinter, not of course on the Yves.
And
level.
more than that, I think. She wants to leave her mark as a sprinter and a classics rider. I think it also shows the depth women's teams are getting, at least some of them. Lidl-Trek said in their announcement it will allow them to send different sprinters to different races. Now it was mainly Balsamo who did all of the sprints. So it's a good sign for Caponi that she will get her chances. And she's almost 25, so still pretty young. And room for improvement.
Yeah, nothing more to add. It's a very good signing for Lidl-Trek. Someone who can mix herself in bunch sprints and not always relying on Balsamo, like Hannes mentioned. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of experience in that team, so if you want to learn, it's a good place to go to.
And I think it's always interesting. She started as a professional within FDG squad in 2018, and she didn't leave it until now. So I'm always interested to see how that will change her approach to races, her performance in general, because another environment, Lidl-Trek is quite professional within women's cycling as well. Well, they have quite a lot of budget as well. So.
When it comes to that, she also said it will be a kind of change of her life, and not a new language, but another language that she was probably used to, a new way of living, new teammates, as you say, could be good.
Yeah.
Right. Then I have the last one, bonus one, Zoe Bäckstedt. Of course, the transfer has already happened. Yeah,
you're forgetting my favorite one.
Oh, did I? Go for it then. Santesteban.
Santesteban. Wow. From Jaiko to the Basque team Laboral Kutxa Fundación Euskadi.
You practiced that one.
This is a very interesting story. Laboral Kutxa is a sponsor that has an agreement with the team until 2029. it's not that common, I think,
No, definitely not.
to get such a long agreement. Also, Cian Uijtdebroeks, she's coming from the Basque country, so there is a natural fit once again. And she signs a 3-year contract, I think. Laboral Kucha has put a lot of money in the team. They want to grow to World Tour as soon as possible. But you need to know they are only 2 years. They've been 2 years at continental level, so pretty young. They want a bright future, and I think Cian Uijtdebroeks can give it to them. She was, I think, on my paper, there's 8th at Tour de France Femmes and 10th in Giro.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But she's 33 years old.
yeah, but
Giving
I don't
her
think
a
that's a problem.
A 3-year contract?
They need a Basque rider to let it grow. The strategy behind that was because they wanted other young Basque riders to get into the team and to learn from her. And if you saw her this season, she was very good.
I mean, she actually had her best season ever.
Absolutely.
At this season, she was 32. So
And now she's coming home, so vamos.
it's the whole theme of this
Or I
whole
should-
episode.
Should have said it in Basque.
Beautiful, beautiful story.
All right,
Wow.
because you really researched that one.
Beautiful story.
I think his
This was
glucose
a beautiful story, but my stomach is.
his glucose levels are a bit low. He needs one of those monitors for them. All right, then actually one that we've spoken to recently on the Cross is Boss podcast, Zoe Bäckstedt. Of course, the transfer's already happened from was it 2 Canyons?
She's at
Yeah.
Canyon SRAM, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting transfer because of the instant performance difference when she came from EF.
Absolutely. First of all, we've got to mention she was your disappointment of last season. I didn't understand it back then, and I still don't. But yeah, Zoe Bäckstedt, she's an amazing talent. She's stepping up, going to Canyon SRAM. She's now working together with her dad, Magnus Bäckstedt. And I expect big things from her. Maybe, I'm going to say it now already, if her classics campaign isn't full of top 5s, top 10s, don't worry, she'll get there eventually. How old is she?
19,
19. Says it all.
2004.
Yeah, you're making me feel old.
That's why I said.
Paris-Roubaix is apparently one of her favorite races, and I really can't see why you would say she can't win it
I'm not saying that.
next year.
I mean, there's like she's one of the biggest talents in women's cycling, definitely. I've given my reasoning why she was my disappointment of the season in our season recap, so I'm not gonna repeat it. But yeah, she's gonna win a lot of races. I hope it's this year.
Also,
I
Canyon SRAM has often been called a team that has difficulties of winning races. In fact, a lot of people said that about Nimia Doma, that she's not the killer within races, and now they might have one.
Yeah, but
Not in mountain stages, but
I think Canyon SRAM has won a Tour de France stage and a Giro stage this year.
yeah, but they said that before that Tour de France Femme,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
They did, but I disagree. I disagree
Yeah,
with them.
because there is
No, there isn't.
there's no reason behind it.
No, it's just a very interesting team. It's one of the most entertaining teams within the women's cycling. They always attack. For example, Shabby.
Sure.
She,
But the next step is winning a lot of races.
Nuya Doma became world champion in gravel, so now she's gonna clap everyone everywhere. She knows how to win right now, so watch out for 2024.
all right. I think
And that's another eye roll. I think that
I was going to say this is the
we
perfect
can play a game
way to end this episode, and now it's not good again.
We can play a game with our YouTube viewers and see how much Hannes rolled his eyes when I was talking. It's gonna be quite a bit.
definitely.
Ben Tulett for 2024.
Isaac Del Toro is gonna win a Grand Tour faster than Tulett.
I think I should wrap up this podcast before any other crazy things get said. So that's a wrap for today's Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi, and if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because most of our audience is actually not subscribed. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
See you later, bye.
Bye.
I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.